What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. We have a content advisory on this episode. We talk about some adult themes. I wouldn't let my kid listen to this. You can do whatever you want, but probably a good idea not to listen to this if you have kids around. This episode got a little dark there at the end, so if you feel like that's going to trigger you, maybe you shouldn't listen to it either. In all honesty, I don't even want to put this thing out, but we're going to anyway. If you guys could, drop a follow on whatever platform you guys are listening to or watching this on. Thanks again for listening, and we will catch you on the next one.
I don't know what's happening.
So,
I've decided this.
we're so tired.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I keep saying this TikTok. That's all that's coming to my mind. This podcast, it like brings out the absolute worst in us. Like, I don't know if we should do this because all we do every time we go to do is like just are ready to blow each other's heads off.
Well, there is a fine line between loving and hating somebody.
We have discussed that, yes.
So,
Yeah.
anyway,
We're extremely tired.
yeah, Florence,
Hasn't slept for days. She's in a sleep regression.
she's in a sleeping strike.
And we started this, and literally 30 seconds into it, she woke up. So I've been up trying to put her back to sleep for the last 45 minutes. And now we're just very tired because we tried to film it. How do we say film? Record this earlier in the week. But she like isn't napping either, and we can't do it when she's awake. It's just
She was screaming. So,
It's a
little
lot.
update. The studio room, whatever you want to call this, is like, what do you think, like 95% done?
97.
97. Strong night. You gave me a +2 on that, so thanks. Really boosted the old ego there. So yeah, we've got all of our pictures and stuff up. We did a test earlier today to see if the sound was going to be okay. I think it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
It's going to be good enough for this episode. No matter what, this thing's going out tonight.
Because we said in the update that we were finishing the basement, right? Getting everything.
Well, yeah,
in.
and that we did a couple episodes and they
Well, I'm
sounded
just
like
saying. So yeah, that's not a
shiz.
surprise.
So
to
yeah,
them.
I mean, I've got like sound panels put up and hopefully the echo's not bad. We did a test earlier and it sounded okay. So if it doesn't, I don't know.
They don't care about that. What they care about is that it looks freaking sweet down here, and at
Looks frickin'
some
sick.
point, you guys are gonna see it.
Yeah. So you just sent me a TikTok video
I did.
and I will put the TikTok video in right now.
That tangent would be that your children will someday find out who you are. And I don't mean just like know your name, whatever, that kind of bullshit. I'm talking like they'll find out what kind of person you are, what kind of human being you are. Your kids are going to find out. I see so many people going no contact with their families or, talking about terrible things that their parents did to them or around them when they were children. And the parents don't understand why the child is upset. Like, even as an adult, they don't get why the kid is upset about that stuff. Because they're like, you were a kid, like, you didn't know, whatever. Your child is going to turn into a grown-up someday, and they're going to figure out everything. Just because they were a kid doesn't mean they don't remember the things that you put them through. It just literally blows my mind. I don't know if maybe I'm so, like, deep into this thinking that I look at my kids now, and my kids are 4 and 2. I look at them now, and I'm like, wow, I hope you like me. I hope that you turn 20 or whatever age, and you're like, wow, I want to be friends with my mom. Because eventually, that's what it turns into. After they stop needing you when they turn 18, what's to keep them from like just cutting you out completely unless they like you? This might be kind of stupid, but that is currently what is like, I feel like people in my life that just keep being like a topic of conversations, talking about basically how after a certain age, your family is your family by choice. You don't need them for anything. So if you're not a good person with good, reason, I guess, for them to stay around, they don't owe you anything. They could walk out of your life. And that's it. I could literally go on and on and on and on and on about this topic. My husband's probably tired of hearing about it. But just PSA, eventually your kids are gonna be grown-ups and they're gonna know what kind of person you are. So try and make sure that it's a good one. Unless you don't care, and then I guess do whatever you want.
I put the audio in right now.
Okay.
So now that you've listened to it, with the magical power of editing, this has been something that has been one of... So I think I've only got a couple of like real things I'm afraid of.
Yeah, like genuine fears.
Genuine fears. First one is I am scared to death of meeting God. For one reason, and I think I've said it before, I will only be afraid of meeting God because of the way that I've treated you in the past. And I've never hit you. I've never shoved you. But there is sometimes where I wish I would have, instead of saying or not saying, or the look that I've given you. Because I'll never forget. And this is all going to tie back into the TikTok video, I promise. I'm just trying to preface my fears. There was one time where we were in a fight, and I don't think you said it to me in the fight. You said it to me after, and you said something to the effect of, your eyes looked like you were dead inside and that you were going to kill me. Something like that.
Yeah.
You said that it made me feel... I'm saying this is me, not what you said to me. It made me feel like I was gone. Because, you know, like with all this stuff that's been happening, all the changes with me and God and all that,
Yeah.
I've definitely known and come to realize that there is like this dark side that was just me all the time. But I didn't... It's just starting to come in with like what you were talking
about
what you were
the other
saying
day.
what you were saying to me with I was gone, whoever else, the dark side of me was there.
Yeah.
So that I'm terrified of that. And I don't think I'm going to be punished. I think that I'm just going to feel really stupid. I'm going to in a grand scale.
Mm-hmm.
The second one is I'm terrified of losing my family. If something happened to you guys, if you just like went crazy and left and took the girls, I'm terrified of that. The third thing I'm terrified of is I am terrified of my daughters finding out, of not liking who I am as a person when they grow up. And that's what this TikTok is.
Yeah.
I'm really trying to be a better person. This episode might piss some people off. It might hurt some feelings. Because this episode could go into a million different directions.
And that's the point.
With like mental health, with addiction, with mommy and daddy issues that both of us have.
Yeah.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
Because like we were just over at my parents' house a couple hours ago. It's been a very extended family-oriented week.
Yes, it has. Very much.
And because we're all human beings, there's just drama.
Mm-hmm.
But like we sat around my parents' table with me and my siblings.
Tonight. is what you mean.
today. Yeah, a couple hours ago. And we were laughing hysterically about family stories about all of us.
What you do as siblings and yeah.
And a lot of it is parenting, you know?
Yeah.
And so, like, when I look at my parents and, like, my childhood, it wasn't traumatic. But my parents are people, so they messed up. And that I'm trying to be nice and dance around. I don't want my parents to think that, like, I didn't have a good childhood, but it was extremely messed up at times.
Yeah. Well, and that's what you just said, it wasn't traumatic, it wasn't whatever, but like the
Like,
more
my
that,
parents didn't beat me. I
Hold-
didn't
well,
live in a
yeah,
hole. Like,
but hold on.
I had food, I had clothes, I had a house. I knew they loved me.
Yeah. But what I've learned from just like, again, just through TikTok and all the therapists that talk about, this subject of childhood trauma and, whatever is like when you hear that phrase childhood trauma, like it sounds like, yeah, you have to be having something really traumatic happen. But as when you're a kid, even small things can do a lot of damage to your brain.
There
And really not
there
knowing.
was some traumatic shit that happened. I will talk about anything on this podcast, but one thing that happened in my childhood, because it didn't only involve me,
And I know, yeah, I know what you're referring to, and so yeah, I don't. Think we
and
need
that
to
was
talk about it.
traumatic.
Yeah, very much so.
I was just a little kid. It was traumatic. You can read between the tea leaves or whatever you got to do that. It didn't only involve me. And the person that did this was not a family member.
Yeah, it's pretty.
But
It's a very.
that's all I'm
triggering
going to
thing.
say.
That's what I'm saying. You can read between lines. It's a very triggering subject that we don't really want to discuss on here.
But, like, I didn't have it. I don't look at it as like, pity me, poor me. Like, my parents got a divorce. That sucked as a kid.
Which, prefacing that as well, they
They
got
got
a divorce
remarried.
and then they got remarried. They are still married again.
But, when you're 8 years old and that happens.
Yeah.
And then, my dad went and did his thing, and my mom did her thing, and
Like we talked about this tonight in the sense of us, we were kind of making the joke or whatever about how we don't feel like we're adults and we have like
Yeah.
parents. And it's trippy to think about that our parents were this age having kids and they felt this way too. Like they felt like kids.
It freaks me out.
It's so weird to sit and think about that. It's like this could have been our parents. Obviously not because they didn't live in like this day and age or whatever, but the same thing of like they are probably having the complex of, oh my gosh, like I'm not adult, what am I doing, like I'm a baby raising a baby. And crap, where was I going with this? I hate when that happen. I was gonna say that, so I look at us, and even I think even if you're like a full-blown adult, like you still, I look at us and there's things that we have already done to our, I say child because Florence is only 3 months old. It's not like hopefully haven't done anything to her yet. But, like with Binley that I just, highly regret. And it's like we're human and we're not very old, and there's just things that you react to, and then you look back and you think, I really wish I wouldn't have done it that way. So there by no means is anything that's happened like intentional.
I think that I've messed up way more than you with Binley.
No.
Because I have scared the bejesus out of Binley. And it's not because I got violent, because I've never gotten violent with you guys. But I'm a big dude. I am scary. And I haven't ever yelled at Bentley. But it comes down to like the look. All I
But-
have to do is look at Bentley, and it can put the fear of God into her in a second.
Yeah, but at the same time, like there's plenty of times that I have, like you say you haven't, but I fully regret that I don't have the temperament that you have with her. I have a lot shorter fuse with her, and I don't know if it's just because of just my personality or just that I'm just how our life is. I'm around her more, and so things get on my nerves.
It's probably that.
And so I mean, yeah, there's so many nights that I lay in bed and then I just regret like how much I've yelled at her or like gotten super short with her and made her sad. Like I understand as a parent, you have like and I
Yeah.
tell you this, like you have to.
Like I've whooped her ass one time.
Yeah.
And I didn't. I'm trying not to be like yeah, I didn't beat my kid, but I picked her up off the ground by her arm and swatted her butt really hard twice. And she got the message.
Yeah.
But that was after a lot of talking
Yeah.
and her being extremely defiant as an 8-year-old.
Yeah.
Or 7. She was 7.
Yeah, she's barely.
Extremely defiant to where I was like, this is becoming a problem. We have to correct this right now. I've talked all I can talk. The behavior is still going. So I waited for her to just outright defy me one more time. And I jumped up off the couch and I fast walked over to her, picked her up, smacked her in the butt twice and said, go to your room. And I think telling her to go to her room hurt her feelings more
Oh yeah.
than me actually spanking her. Because, oh man, after she was laughing at me.
Mm-hmm.
And then I said, go to your room. That's what got her. Because I have never told her to like go to her room.
Yeah. See, and that's the thing. Like, I've done those types of things plenty of time. And that's what's so hard. I feel like we're kind of bouncing all over the place. But, as far as the TikTok and your kids, not liking you or whatever when they get older and them looking back at the childhood, it's, we always say this, it's different for us because of the situation with her.
Yeah, it's going to be different for Bentley. But with Florence, I don't know what she's going to be.
Yeah.
We've got one autistic kid. This one could be autistic. I don't know. If this one is a normal functioning child, I just really hope that I have such a low self-worth.
I think that's a very common thing. I think it's very few of the people that don't.
I look at myself and I just think I'm the biggest piece of shit
Yeah.
on the planet. And I don't want her to think that.
Yeah.
Because I remember a time, sorry, Dad, if you're listening to this. I remember a time when I was a young kid, I was scared to death of my dad. He never beat me. I think I might have got like 2 spankings in my entire life, if that. I'll bet you that my dad has never laid a hand on me. But I was scared to death of that dude.
Well, because he was you.
Yeah.
Now.
And you know what? This is going to piss you off.
Oh, boy.
There's really only one subject that can make me cry. That's my dad. Because me and him are the same person. We react the same to things. We have the same emotions. I probably learned everything from him. I think there's some genetic stuff too. Don't quote me on this. I'm not a doctor. I think there's some genetic things predispositions to how you react to some stuff. But I just remember hating him when I was a kid. I loved him. I looked up to him. He was always my hero. But he was an asshole when I was a kid. It wasn't until high school that I started having a better relationship with him. It might have just been because he was gone a lot. But in high school, the relationship got better. And then as I've become an adult, he's my best friend. He knows me better than me. He knows me better than you.
No.
And I want my kids to look up to me. It'll be different because Florence is a girl. But I want my kids to look at me like I look at my dad now.
But that's another part that we conversate a lot about, because it's no secret that you and I, like, this is one of the areas that we struggle the most with, is parenting our children, because we have very different views on how it should be done. And you saying that is a lot of what we talk about, where it's like, I feel like, and I feel like you can agree with me, that it's like, it's almost like you just want to be their friend. Like, you're so afraid of them hating you or whatever that you're like, I don't want to do anything that's going to make them not like me. And it's like, you have to be a parent too, to some extent. Like, you
Yeah.
can't just let them run free and run the house. And
I agree.
I
And that-
think that's been a hard part, like with Binley, is now that she's gotten to the age she is she's just had free reign. And I know this is what we talk about all the time. The situation is different, but she is capable of knowing that she is the child and we are her parents, and there are things that we expect from her.
But the other thing is now she knows I'm the boss.
Yeah, she still loves to.
Every kid's going to push the boundaries,
Oh,
but she knows when I'm serious.
yeah. But she also knows all she has to do is then, I'm scared. Because then it makes you feel bad when she says she's scared of you.
Yeah, but you're right.
And she knows that. She's not really scared. She just
I can
has
deal
to
with
say
I
it.
can deal with manipulation. I can't deal with defiance.
See, and the manipulation is what sets me off. Because it's constant with her. That girl,
I think it's a female trait.
she is so damn smart. She knows how to work everybody. When I get the text from school, the things that she's saying, like the new one lately, I get the text all the time. She just keeps saying that she misses mommy. It's bullshit. She doesn't miss me. She just wants to say that so
Maybe
can
she does
go
miss you.
home. If she missed me when she'd come home, she would give me a big hug and tell me, let's go hang out and do something. No, she just says that so she can hope that maybe they'll call me and I'll come and get her. Oh, I love her.
Are you afraid of our children finding out? Anything about you in your past?
So I would say the only thing, like, in my past that is, like, people would say, like, oh no, like, I'd be nervous for my kids or whatever, is just, like, my promiscuity. Is that the way you say that?
Yeah.
But I've thought about it a lot over the years, and especially now, like, having girls. I want them to know
You want them
about
to be
it.
sluts?
No, I want them to know about it. And I want to have a very open conversation about it. Because the whole thing, and I've had this conversation with you and I think it's maybe, you know, kind of weird because you're my husband and whatever, but it's like all of that happens strictly because of I put my self-worth in the hands of teenage boys. And like that was the only way I thought of myself as if someone wanted me in that way, which to them meant nothing. You know, it wasn't like they actually thought that way. It was just, you know, what boys wanted to do and whatever. So I want my girls to know that, like, you don't have to think of yourself that way. Like, think more of yourself than someone wanting to have sex with you.
Well, as a teenager, as a young adult, we're built for it.
Yeah, and, you know, we talk about that a lot.
So
it's a human nature thing, which I get.
it's a primal thing.
Yeah, sure. That's the wording you use, yes.
I don't know how I'm going to feel about it when they're teenagers, when they're young adults, when they're in their, 16, 17, up to whatever, 20s. I can't say how I'm going to feel about it. But I do know that once you have your mindset on it, you're not going to stop it. You and me are not going to stop it. It's going to happen.
Oh, I know that. And that's the other thing.
If they want to, it's going to happen.
Well, so back to talking about parents and our parents and stuff like that, is I would say that my parents handled me as a teenager completely the wrong way.
See, and I'll say mine went the opposite way.
Yeah, and again, this is a conversation we have a lot about. But I also think a new thought I've had about it is because our parents raised us in totally different ways.
Completely different.
My parents were very strict. We had a lot of rules, and it was like if you started to break those rules, they just came down on you harder, and you just got, more disciplined. Curfews got shorter. Like I wasn't allowed to. I had a very serious boyfriend, and I was only allowed to see him twice a week because my parents knew we were having sex or that we wanted to have sex. And so it was like, okay, well, we'll give you a curfew. You have to be home by 10 o'clock. Then maybe she won't have sex.
Yeah, you can't have sex when the sun.
Like, I don't know if that's exact. I've never really had a full-on conversation about those types of things, but that's the vibe that I got from it. You kind of had free reign to do whatever you wanted.
Kinda, but not really. But it was.
But we'll say for the
I was grounded a lot.
Of my story, you were very much more so allowed to do what you wanted. And I think it comes down to you have to really know your child and how you're going to parent them. I don't think you can just be like, this is how I'm going to do it no matter what. Like, does that make sense?
Well,
I think there's some things, sure, that, you can. But if my parents would have, especially my mom, like, I'll be honest, me and my mom have this conversation all the time. It's not a secret to her that, like, my dad was not involved. He was involved. Like, it wasn't like he ran away and they weren't together. My dad was always there, whatever, but he was not involved in the parenting. My mom just kind of took over everything, and he was just there to say, okay, sounds good. And so really, like, if my mom would have had more of an open dialogue with me and, like, tried to understand me more.
I gotta stick up for your dad for a minute.
Okay.
Your dad is and was then. He's a good man.
Absolutely. I'm not saying that at all. If that came across that way, that's not how I intended it at all.
And there's sometimes, and I've felt this, when you're a man, you hit a point where you just say, I'm just going with the flow.
Well, and the thing again, it's kind of like mind blowing because you don't think about this as like your parents. Is my dad, we didn't know until we were older and stuff that he suffered really bad, like mentally, with like depression and stuff like that when we were younger kids.
I think that's all we should say about that.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying, so
That's your dad's story to tell.
yeah,
But
I'm just saying that's what,
because I've had that,
yeah,
and there's times where you just go, to keep yourself on planet Earth,
absolutely.
you just have to sometimes say, you have to let your wife take over. And
But no, I'm just trying to
anyway,
put that into the perspective
context.
of being a parent and
Yeah.
like realizing like, oh, because that's something that I extremely like suffer with, and it'd be like, oh, like that can happen to my parents. Like my parents are human beings too. That's what I'm trying to get at. And so, yeah, but back to the whole thing of, yeah, if my mom would have like understood me as a human, as a teenager more, then I think things would have been a lot different for me than they were.
Being a parent now and looking back and listen to you talk about your family and like me think about mine and being in the middle of it right now. Because when you're a kid, you're just thinking like, oh, my parents suck.
Yeah.
You don't like see that, your parents had 2 jobs or 3 jobs or 4 jobs. You don't see like our daughters are not going to see the shit I put up with on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to see, they just get to see dad when he gets home from work, and they get to see happy dad on days off. They're not going to they don't know what the world is yet. The world, the Smashing Pumpkins said it best, the world is a vampire. The world sucks.
It does.
That is why even in our small little town home has to be a sanctuary.
Yeah.
Because we can close the doors and we can shut the blinds and we can just be here with each other. But our girls don't know that yet. And so that's why it's so hard when you're an adult and you're trying to work through, I'm air quoting with my fingers, like mommy and daddy issues. That's a thing now.
Mm-hmm.
That's always been a thing, but nobody wanted to recognize it. They just told you to quit being a bitch and like suck it up and be a man. Is like, it's okay to have hurt feelings, but I don't want my kids' feelings being hurt.
Yeah. You're saying by you.
By me.
Yeah.
By anybody, especially other people, because I will cut your head off if you hurt my daughter's feelings.
Yeah.
Like, I am off on a little tangent here. I am a psycho when it comes to my daughters. Like a couple years ago when they were building the other townhomes down there.
Oh my god, I forgot all about that till you literally.
I was
just said
out.
that.
I was out in my garage. This was before video game stuff. I was out in my. I would just go out in my garage and I would weld and I would like build stuff in my garage. And I was out there. It was when we were redoing the kitchen, and I was out sanding cabinets. I took the doors off the cabinets and was sanding them down with my orbital sander out there. And this dump truck driver, which pissed me off because I am a truck driver, so I know how you're supposed to drive, especially in these little tiny areas in townhomes. And this truck driver's just being a dick. He was like, you won't really know unless you're a truck driver. It's an extremely douchey thing to do when you're in a residential area to shift your truck with your Jake brake on. It just makes a ton of noise. And this idiot was just flying through our neighborhood. And when I say flying, he was going 15, 20 miles an hour, which is flying around in this townhome. And it's a little tiny area, sharp corners, and he's loaded in
like
his dump
two
truck.
cars can't even like pass in some of the areas.
And my daughter's not even in the not even outside with me. But I had one of those little what are they called?
I don't know. What you're
Fisher
talking
Price cars, the little
Oh.
Flintstone cars where the kids sit in there and they pedal
about.
along
The
with their
real
feet on the ground.
Red and yellow ones.
So that was out in the garage, and I just keep seeing this dude about every 15 minutes come flying by my garage door. And I friggin' snapped.
Yes, you did.
I went down there to the truck boss, told him that he better get a handle on his driver. I was going to pull him out and beat him to death with my bare hands. Like, I'm a crazy person when it comes to the safety and well-being of my daughter. My daughter wasn't even outside playing, but she could have been. Like, and all I would have had to do was like push this thing out into the road. If I would have done that and he would have hit it, I probably would have pulled him out and beat him to death.
Mm.
But I don't want anybody, especially me, hurting our daughters.
So, are you finished with it? I don't want to cut
Yeah,
you off.
I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to have my daughters have daddy issues,
Yeah.
you know? And I don't, the way things are going right now, they won't.
Yeah. I don't think so. So, in that is not just like daddy issues, but like the biggest thing. So, you said, do I have anything from my past or whatever? I wouldn't say there's anything from like when I was a teenager or whatever, but there is a lot that I worried about, and it's still something because like just because you've quit drinking and all this stuff and whatever, like it still happens. So first off is we don't know, and I don't know if we'll ever know how much Binley like retains and understands really like what's going on, but just like what she's seen and heard between you and I in the past of just like, because like with my parents, that's one thing I feel like they really got right. Like, I'm not stupid to think that my parents never fought, but I say that like I've never seen my parents fight.
My parents fight all the time.
Well, now they do. My parents openly fight now. But growing up, I never once in my life, I don't think I ever seen my parents mad at each other, yell at each other, like being in a fight. And, I've talked to my mom now, and she was like, of course we did. Like,
Yeah.
She's like, we just didn't do it in front of anybody. Like, if it was, we'd go to our room or wait till, we weren't in the moment and all this stuff. And we definitely have not been that way. We openly have in the past screamed and yelled and...
Hold on a second. I've said this our whole marriage. Your and my version of fighting
But see,
is completely different.
I don't care. That to me feels like an excuse.
That's what
I'm saying.
I don't want them to see it either.
Yeah, I don't want to see any level of it, whether you think it's not very bad or whatever.
Fighting to you. I really hope this doesn't hurt my parents' feelings. I'm really sorry, Mom and Dad, if you guys hear this. My house was a fucking war zone. when I was growing up. That's what I remember. It might not. I remember good times. I remember. I remember way more good times than I remember the bad times. But the bad times were a war zone. Again, my dad was not violent at all. Not a violent man. He never hit my mom. He never pushed my mom. He never did anything like that. But you and I have never fought like that.
Okay, so but you're proving my point of what I'm saying is Binley doesn't know that.
No, she doesn't.
So to her,
Our baseline is different.
but that's what I'm saying. To her, our arguing and where we're at, that could be very extreme to her. Just because she hasn't seen anything worse doesn't
Exactly.
She doesn't have anything to compare it to. So that's what I think about is just like I hope that we're at a place in our marriage that this wouldn't hurt your feelings, but like I don't want our girls to have a relationship like we had.
I don't either. I do not either. If our daughter, Binley's probably never going to get married.
Yeah.
But if she does, if either of our daughters ever marries somebody that has neglected emotionally and also the emotional abuse is a very strong word to me. So I struggle for me to say it, but I'm about 99% sure that it's abuse in your eyes, that you were emotionally abused.
Well, I've said that to many people.
Will beat them to within an inch of their life. Me and the boys, if the boys are listening, you know who you are. Me and the boys will straighten that shit out real quick. Which is extremely hypocritical for me to say. Because if your dad and your brothers would have showed up on my doorstep and tried to straighten me out, I might have gone down, but I'd have taken all of them with me.
No.
And there would have been retribution. But my crew do not mess with us. And there will be either, yes, sir, I'm sorry, sir, or yes, sir, I'm packing my shit, sir, and you will never see me again, sir.
No. But yeah. That's just my regret, and I hope is that
I don't want that for our daughters.
No.
And that's why I'm terrified of dying.
No. But it's even like, I don't know, it's interesting, and I look at this all the time, that like when we first were married, dating, all that kind of stuff, you know, I always say like I had never like fought before, seen fighting, so like when you would start in on that, it was like I didn't know what to do, and I would just like cry, and I just remember you always saying like, why are you crying? And I was just like, because it was like I was terrified of you and like what is happening and stuff. But then as the years went on and I got more used to it, I was like, well, screw this, like I'm standing up for myself. So then I have now become the type of person that like I stand up to you, and I wouldn't ever say that I've ever yelled at, like really yelled, but like I don't just sit there and let you go. Like I get,
you know what's funny is
hold on. I feel, and this is something I need to own and say, is that like I feel like I just get nasty, like I get mean, and I say like degrading things. And that's something I am not proud of. But, like, that's my defense mechanism now when we fight, is for me to just, like, be mean. And so the point me going on this was that I feel like, so Binley has started this new habit. I don't know if you want to say that. She started this new game that on her iPad, she's learned the function of the camera. How long would you say she's been doing this?
A year.
that she just like is constantly recording everything. And my phone is linked to her iPad, and so it's always on my phone and stuff. And literally every like once a week, I'm not exaggerating, like 500 to 600 videos I
Yeah.
go and I have to delete because she just is constantly recording everything. And we were in the car a couple days ago. Oh, it was after when we left the temple, and she was recording. She was in the back and she was recording herself. And I was listening to the video, and it was us talking, and we weren't fighting. We weren't talking. But we were talking about. It was. I don't even know if you care, but it was like when we were talking about the whole you wanting to quit your job
Yeah.
and whatever. And just like the way you and I talk, like listening back to it, like made me cringe because we weren't fighting, we weren't arguing, but we still like, because it was, you were saying that it was, you had said it. And then I was like, well, why don't we like look at some numbers and, you know, like it, and you're like, get super defensive and you're like, I don't want you to now to come back at me and say like, oh, you said you wanted to quit your job and now you're not. And it's like, we are still like, I mean, like outside people are probably like, geez, those two, like, they hate each other. You know what I mean? And it's like, I don't know how that sounds to them, our children.
You're literally making me rethink my entire life.
What do you? What does
Here
that
I
mean?
am thinking that I'm a changed man and that I'm doing
You
so
are.
good
You
and that
are.
I've changed my entire life and now, you know, I'm just Jesus Christ and I can walk on water around here. And now I'm just you're telling me these things and I'm agreeing with you and I'm like, am I ever going to be that guy?
Be what guy?
Jesus?
No, no one's ever gonna.
Not
be
literally, but like am I ever going to like just be a good man?
You
I'm
are
just
a good man, and I hope that in this has never come across that
I don't feel like you're attacking me at all. Let's just get that out.
Well, to other people,
But-
I hope it doesn't.
Well, I don't
sound
give
like,
a shit what they think.
Like I just said though, like I feel like in our conversation, you and I don't like. I don't feel like we're being nasty to each other, or whatever. But then I listen back to it on a recording, and I'm like, oh gosh, like we're kind of maybe should talk nicer to each other. And I
love
guess
you.
that's what I'm saying.
I'm
is
saying something nice. I just love you.
I love
You're
you
the best.
so much.
You're amazing.
And that's what I want our girls to know is like how much I love you. Like you see the videos all the time of people saying like show your kids that like you love your spouse. Like openly be physical, not well that sounded weird. Like, you know, kiss in front of them, hug in front of them, let them hear you say you love each other
Yeah.
and stuff like that's what I want. I want them when they're teenagers or whatever, and because it always ends up coming up, you know, kids start talking about their parents or whatever, and I want our kids to be like, oh my gosh, my parents love each other so much.
Yeah.
I don't want them to be like, oh, my parents are just they're always fighting, they're always mad about something, they never, you know, that's what I want.
Yeah.
Because we are not very good at that. And I can say that.
We've done a lot better lately,
Yeah.
I think.
I feel like we're always trying to improve.
I feel like
And that's all you can do.
in the last year and a half, especially, things have gotten a lot better.
For sure. I will say, we're supposed to be pretending about this podcast or whatever and pretend that it didn't happen. But in the last time we tried to record, a lot of things happened. A lot of subjects came up. It already flew out of my mind that fast. What was I going to say? We were talking about getting better. Nope, no idea.
Oh.
Okay. Oh, I came back. That
Praise God.
that because you were like super grumpy and whatever, and we started talking about how like I can't make you do this. It's totally your decision, and I would never. But it's like, I feel like we were getting really, like, a lot better, and things still are better. But I do feel like we're back a little bit in a space of you being super angry and us, like, bickering and fighting more because you are not on your medication anymore.
So, if we're
And
going to get into this,
go for it.
I am so sick of taking pills
I know. I don't like taking pills either.
to be happy.
But and
And
I
it's
tell
not
you
even
this all the time. If you don't want to take the pills, you can't just be like, well, I don't want to take pills, and so I'm going to stop taking pills, and then it's going to be better. Like, then you're going to have to do other
I
things.
am Shay, and this is going to get real.
Because it wasn't before.
I am fighting for my life.
I know. That's another reason why I think you should still be medicated. You quit cold turkey.
I am fighting for my life. If it wasn't for you and those two sweethearts upstairs, I am checking the fuck out.
Yeah, I know.
You guys are what is keeping me here. I'm done taking pills to shove that down.
So that's what I'm saying. So then
Me not taking pills, there's going to be a lot of repressed emotional vomit that's going to come up. And I have been dealing with that in silence. The only thing you're getting, the only thing that you are getting is me being grumpy.
Well, so that's what I'm saying.
But
so then you need to
I am not
process.
and will not force that or bring it up with you because I don't even know how I feel about it.
Well,
I am dealing with, and I'm sorry to anybody that's hearing this if it makes you sad, if it's triggering, turn it the fuck off. I am dealing with probably 20 years of self-hate. I don't know what triggered, I don't know what started it. I don't know why I felt that way. Before I got on antidepressants and mood stabilizer and whatever the hell else I was on, I was self-medicating with drugs and alcohol and tobacco. My emotional and spiritual self is in shock. It's a lot to deal with. I
don't want to make it seem like
I am not getting back on medication.
Okay, I understand that. And I'm not trying to diminish anything that you're feeling and stuff. But like you said, like you're trying to deal with all that, but it's like, and again, I don't want people to think that I'm like being unsympathetic and but it's like, but are you trying to deal with that? Like how are you trying to process through that?
Well, right now I'm just trying to make it to tomorrow.
Yeah. Which I understand. But
it doesn't happen fast.
No.
But generally, I'm in a pretty good mood when I get home from work now.
Yeah.
Which was not the case even when I was on medication.
Yeah. And again,
I am trying to look at the positives every day.
Yeah.
It's starting for me with that. That's how I'm starting with this.
Okay.
Is I'm just going to try to I'm going to try to have little victories throughout the day.
Yeah.
If something bad happens, I'm going to laugh it off to I'm on the Truman Show. I'm on the Chuck Show. There's some dude with a million cameras around here just trying to make my life hell, and when he succeeds, I just laugh at it and say, well, you got me on that one.
Yeah, I can handle that.
But being a man is hard. Especially in our situation, our lifestyle, which we'll get into in other episodes with being a traditional family, traditional wife, traditional husband, traditional values. Striving for that, because we're not perfect in it. We're 30 years old. I'm 32. You're 30. We're just figuring it out.
Yeah.
But being a man is hard. You've got to be strong for yourself and your family. I've got to put up a wall and fight dragons all day as a man. The entire financial situation is on my shoulders. You have the same battles that you have to fight. They're just different. You have the same weight on your shoulders. It is hard being a woman these days.
But that's where I wish that, like you just said, you had to put a wall up. Like, I don't know how many times over the years I've told you that you don't have to do that with me. And I just wish that, like, we could. I know I can't take any of your physical daily load, but, like, emotionally, I just wish that we could share in that together, because, like, I'm not exaggerating to you guys out there that you literally are, I don't know how to explain it. Like, I don't ever know what is going on with you, what's going on in your head, how you're feeling, emotions. Like, you are just, it's nothing. And that's harder for me than if you were just, like, vomiting it all over me. Like, I just want to help you.
So it's really hard.
I know. And I'm trying to be more sympathetic of it over the last little while, in understanding how hard it is.
Well, I'm
for
trying
you.
to tell you right now.
Oh.
It's hard.
Yeah.
Waking up early is hard.
Yeah.
Getting in a semi truck and doing something you hate for as many hours as I have to do it, 6 days, is hard. The hardest part is leaving that shit in the truck. Every day when I get out of my truck and I get in my car to come home, I try really hard to have it all be gone by the time I get home.
Well, and that's different. I'm not asking you to come home and be angry. Like, I don't want that.
I'm saying I'm trying to leave the wall in the truck, leave the wall in my car, so I can come home and give you what you need. But I've been doing that for the last 10 years. It's only been in the last year and a half I've been trying to be a better person. Before, I thought I was fine. I didn't know I was a menace to you and our relationship. I didn't know. I just thought it was normal. I was wondering why you were giving me so much crap. It wasn't until recently that I figured out, like, hey, my wife needs more from me. other than to just go out and make money.
Yeah.
It's really hard.
That's what I mean. I'm trying to be more sympathetic and just not like expect so much, because I know that as a person who you are can only do so much. I mean, I'm not expecting you to completely be this open book, but it's like it makes me feel like you don't feel comfortable enough with me to share your emotions and how you're feeling, because the only emotions I get from you is happiness and like anger.
It's extremely hard for me to articulate my emotions.
Yeah,
It's really extremely hard for me to like be vulnerable.
I know.
And me being able to be vulnerable is really weird. Like I'm being vulnerable right now
I was just
in
gonna
front
say
of
this episode is
in
way-
front of other people.
Yeah. And like, as for context, me as a person, my personality of like, I'm that type of person that I could meet you an hour ago and I want you to like give me all of your deep feelings and things, like let's have the deepest conversation. Like I just thrive and eat this shit
I
up.
used to be like that. You remember when we first met?
What do you mean?
We had deep conversations every time we talked, every time we were
Yeah.
together. The world, that's what I'm saying. The world sucks. The world didn't make me this person. I allowed the world to make me this person.
Yeah.
Like I have to take ownership in that. Is the reason why I am who I am is because of me. Because there's other people that do the same thing that I do that aren't like pieces of shit. I haven't met any of them. But, it's like I let this happen. I'm trying to un-F myself.
Which I should be better at giving you credit in the strides that you have made, because there are a lot.
I can say the same for you.
In what? I don't feel like I've changed at all.
We got into a little minor dispute on Saturday
I
Be-
don't know what you're talking about.
about the house.
Oh. Yes.
But
On Saturday.
like for the last couple of years, all I've told you is like, you've asked me, what do I need to do to like help you? Or like, what do you need to be happy? And I've always told you the same stuff. I want dinner cooked when I get home from work, and I want the house cleaned.
Mm-hmm.
And that has been happening. Because like I said, this is our sanctuary. When I come home and I've been out in the chaotic BS of the world, and then I come home and it's the same thing here, it makes me think like, okay, you're not doing your job, but I had to go out and do my job. And you didn't do your job, and now I've got to come home and deal with this shit. And then I've got to go do my job again tomorrow, and I know when I get home tomorrow, you're not going to have done your job again. I get it. You have a baby that you're taking care of all day long. We had a dispute on Saturday, but like 9 times out of 10, like you're doing everything that I need you to do, that I want you to do, and that makes me happy.
Okay.
But you weren't before.
Yeah.
And so I've got to give you credit too. Like you've made just as much, if not more, of a transformation than I have in what I want from you.
No. Well, in that vein, and it doesn't really have anything to do with this, but like definitely having another baby. I like feel like I got good at that, and
I
like
did not think it was going to be this hard,
no,
man.
I did not at all.
Binley was a one-off.
Like, yeah. I just like there are times I just feel like I am drowning. Like that was this weekend was one of those times, and that's why I was like so upset when you flew off the handle about the
I didn't
house.
fly off the handle. You're making me sound like I'm a crazy
Okay.
person.
Like, I guess I should say like the way that you reacted, not just the way you reacted felt like a big F you to me, because I was like, there is so much going on right now. I'm trying to get all this stuff ready. Like, there was, again, we're being kind of vague, but there was many things going on in a 2-day period. And I was trying to do all that. And on top of having this baby, and I was just like, I literally can't. Like, the house just is what it is. And it wasn't like I was unaware of it. It was like every time I looked, I was embarrassed, and I was like, oh my gosh. But I literally was just like, there's nothing I could do right now. I can't put this on my plate as well.
But then again, after I got irritated about it, it got done. So you
Yeah, because
could have done it.
Because I told you, okay, here's the baby.
You could have done it.
Well, and it was also
And then you did it.
It was also because all those things then were done. I didn't have to worry about them anymore.
Yeah, you're the best.
You're the best.
We always start an episode with what we want to talk about, and then we just end up like 100 miles away.
That's okay. We still talked about it. We still hit it. We talked plenty about things we're scared of our children finding out.
I just hope one day they realize why I was and why I am the way I am.
The only way that will be, I can't stop
is if they get their CDL and start hauling crude oil.
No, is if you have an open dialogue about it. That's what I'm saying from like my story and my, like, I don't think as parents, obviously there's things that like we don't have to put on our kids. Like, that's a whole nother thing of kind of trauma, is telling your kids everything and telling them, yeah, we don't have any money and we're drowning, you know, or something like that, and making them feel like kind of pressure. I'm saying that like you're open with them to be like, hey, this is the type of person I am. And you just like acknowledging it and treating them as a human being also.
The only thing I hope that they really know is that no matter what, that we love them.
Yeah.
And that they can come to us with any problem and they're not going to get judged for it.
Yeah.
Now, if they're a teenager and they're doing a bunch of bad stuff, they might get grounded. But even when I was like a teenager, it seemed like about 16 years old, something, I can't put my finger on it, but like something happened to where like I just my parents are going to laugh their ass off if they hear this. To where there was like, I started respecting them, and I was still out doing a bunch of bad shit. But I know that if they would have like put their thumb on me and tried to come down on me harder, it would have been so much worse.
Yeah.
Like, I probably would be dead now. I would have. I'm not going to name names, but there's friends I had that got into hard shit and they're dead. Like, I would be dead.
Mm-hmm.
I would have taken it to another level just because that's who I am. I'm like, you want to freaking tell me what to do?
You're
I
still
will
that
take I will
way.
take whatever you want me to do, and I will shove it so far up your ass. I will do it in spite. And my parents stopped doing that when I was a teenager. And I got into trouble. But I don't have any illegitimate kids out there. And I didn't do enough drugs to kill me. And I didn't drink enough to kill me.
Yeah.
And I didn't drive drunk. That was like the one rule. There was a lot of rules, but that was like the do not break this rule. Was I remember my dad sat me and Tanner down and he said, "Listen, you guys are going to drink. Do not drive and do not get into a car if you're drunk. Do not." And we didn't. If we were drinking at a bonfire, we stayed at the bonfire. There was a lot of nights where we slept on the back of pickup trucks. Slept on the flatbed, slept in the bed, slept at my friend's house who we were having the bonfire at.
Yeah, kids are gonna be kids, and it's finding that line. Like I said, knowing who your kids are. Like that's again, I don't mean it to come off negatively. My parents are and were amazing, but I don't feel like, again, both my parents worked, and my mom especially had a lot going on when we were younger and stuff, just like family things, and she had a lot on her plate that I didn't like give her credit for. But I feel like there was a lot that she didn't take the time to like get to know me. And I think if we would have had, like I kind of said earlier, like wanted to be my friend too, like not only that, but like get to know me, and I think it could have changed. Like I said, kids are going to be kids, but a lot of the things that I did in spite of the things that she was making me do, I think it could have went a lot differently. Instead of trying to form me into something or push me in a direction that she thought that I should have been.
I think I just want our kids to be happy.
Yeah.
No matter what.
Yeah.
Whether that's going to the same church we go to, whether it's not going to church at all, whether it's if they're gay. I just want them to be happy.
Yeah.
I think that's all any parent wants to, but I think that our generation especially is a lot more open-minded.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
And I think that like our parents are getting if you would have told me, like, if some of the stuff that comes out of my dad's mouth now he would have said when I was a teenager, I'd have been like, "You're not my dad." Like, they're growing too. Like, even though they're getting older, and it's funny because like in some ways they've gotten more set in, but like other ways they're becoming more accepting. I do not care what my kids are doing as long as they're happy, as long as it's fulfilling to them, as long as they like enjoy their life.
I mean, of course, hopefully it should be obvious, besides things that are truly damaging to them.
Well, yeah, like if one of our kids decides to be like Hitler 2.0, I'm going to be like, maybe not a good idea.
Talking like,
I don't give a shit how much that makes you happy.
I was more so just meaning like getting really into drugs and,
Well, I can tell you right now, drugs aren't going to make you happy.
Yeah. I think we've got some good eggs, though. I think it's.
Why are our episodes so damn depressing?
There's plenty of times that we
So
talk
depressing.
and laugh a lot. Okay, we'll make the deal right now that the next one, we're just gonna laugh and it's
Yeah,
just
we're not
gonna
going to
be
bring up
fun.
mommy and daddy issues next time. Because that's what this episode should be called is
You know, you're
Chuck
the
and
one that
Shay
names
have
them.
mommy and daddy issues.
Be whatever you name it.
Right. Should we wrap it up?
Yep.
I'm so tired.
I'm so tired. And all I can think is I'm like, let's see, what time is it? It's 11:15. She's gonna be awake in 45 minutes. I'm not gonna have to.
Well, I'm going to be asleep.
Ugh.
Thanks for listening, everybody.
Yeah.
We are going to. We'll have the Google Doc in the description again. If Shaylee
have
can
it-
get into
I'll
it.
have it figured out.
I don't know. There might be like a full inbox of stuff in there that we should be talking about, but we don't know because Shay can't figure
If
out
worst
the login
comes to
for it.
worst, we'll just have to make a new one. It's
Yeah.
not hard.
Anyway,
Ooh,
we'll
good
catch you guys
night.
next week. Later. Love you, babe.
Love you.